Peace, 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 peace. I'm Rami El. I thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. I'm going to get right to this, then we're going to get to the video. We got a lot to discuss. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet, Prophet Noble. They lose confidence in their prophet. They should return their card and button, cease wearing the turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the Prophet Noble, and if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting the prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace, Noble Ali. And with that, let's get right to the Supreme Grand Council. I'm going to take you back in time for a second.
Of the law. You say it's one way and I say it's another way. And the Supreme Grand Council is in place. And you and I say, well, since you and I can't reach a decision on that, then let's take this matter to the Supreme Grand Council and see what they say. We take the matter to the Supreme Grand Council. They issue their ruling, their opinion, and they present it, and it's binding on both parts. Because we accept the authority, therefore the authority of the Supreme Council, and even if that ruling supports my position or not, you see, I'm bound by it, and that prevents you and I from pulling apart. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what we believe is going to bring unity throughout the movement, mm-hmm, and preserve unity once we have achieved it. Mm-hmm. That's what I think is most important at this time.
I agree.
This unity is bringing about this unity, mm-hmm, and the Supreme Grand Council is the key to bringing about that unity.
Mm-hmm. I agree. The Supreme Grand Council gives us a loud voice. It gives the members a loud voice, the officers a loud voice. It gives a fair voice, according to the Prophet Noble law. Now, we were just talking about the origin of the Supreme Grand Council. You know, if you will, I'd like to mention the first Supreme Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple of America and the effect that he had on the Supreme Grand Council. Would you like to elaborate on that, brother?
The first Supreme Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple of America was, without doubt or contradiction, Brother E. Millie Eel. He was appointed the Supreme Grand Sheikh in the first sitting of the Supreme Grand Council, which took place in October of 1928 here in the city of Chicago, in the Mecca of the movement. There can be no dispute,
right,
there can be no argument that Brother E. Millie Eel was the first Supreme Grand Sheikh of this movement, regardless of what others say. Mm-hmm. Brother, the record indicates, the written record.
And we have a copy of that.
We have the written records, and others have the written record, mm-hmm, also, that Brother E. Millie Eel was the Supreme Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple of America, mm-hmm, right here in the city of Chicago. There can be no dispute about that.
And what did Brother E. Millie Eel do to make sure that the Prophet got his Supreme Grand Council in place after the Prophet passed off the scene?
Well, in the convention of 1930, the minutes clearly show that one of the things that was at the top of the agenda of that convention was to make sure that any vacancies in the Supreme Grand Council were filled. And we have the minutes of that meeting, of that convention of 1930. And there were other grand sheiks within the movement at that time who recognized Brother Emile as a Supreme Grand Sheik, and who recognized the authority of the Supreme Grand Council as late as 1931. And of course, after the passing of Brother Emile in 1934, then further erosion of the central authority of the organization began to take place. And people, other groups within the movement tended to pull away and begin to do their own thing. But it's important to understand that the Supreme Grand Council is the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's nation. This is what he wanted. And as followers of the Moorish Science Temple of America, particularly for those of us who are officers or sheiks, adepts in this movement, it is our responsibility to see to it that the Prophet is the law. In other words, and the Prophet said to us in that first convention, he said, all the heads of all of the temples to work hand in hand together to intercede that the Prophet is the law. And so if the Prophet wanted the Supreme Grand Council in place, and he put the Supreme Grand Council in place, then there is no head of this movement anywhere who can ignore it. It must be done.
All right, so what we all just saw was that old school, it looked like mid to late 90s video of two Moorish American officials, forgive me if I'm mistaken, but P. Davis Ill and Braswell Bay of the Moorish Science Temple of America, discussing and confirming just how integral, how important, and how necessary the Supreme Grand Council is for the Moorish Science Temple of America and for Moorish Americans. And I wanted to play that first so that I could lay the groundwork and lay the foundation as we move forward. And I also wanted to let you know that this isn't just something I came up with. You know what I mean? If you're just kind of coming into this and seeing these videos, you're like, well, why does Rami keep talking about the Supreme Grand Council? It's because I found out about this as I was doing my studying, and I'm looking around like, how come we not doing this? This is what Noble Drew Ali said. And the more I began to dig, the more issues I began to see, as you will see in a moment. But I just wanted to establish that that video happened before I even knew about Noble Drew Ali. So that just shows you the lack, you know, really and truly, we have to humble ourselves as Moorish Americans, and we have to be able to admit our own flaws and mistakes. And one mistake that is clear is that we have not been active in making sure that the Supreme Grand Council is functioning in the way that it's supposed to be. But I don't want you to believe me. Let's go to the next clip.
So actually, I'm going to read a question that's coming in from Assistant Grand Chief Rami Salam L. And the question coming through the chat says, does any of the Grand Chiefs know who are the members of the Supreme Grand Council for the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam?
Islam. I wouldn't have an answer for that question. I yield the floor.
Now, I'm going to stop it right there. You know, I'm going to put the link in the description below so you can watch the full video of that, where that clip came from. And you can hear it's multiple sheiks on the call. And they all give a response, but none of them were able to answer the question. The reason why I am focusing on Cujo is for several reasons. One, because he was one of the people I looked to and was inspired by, because he was always talking about studying and following Noble Drew Ali, and you know, and doing and not listening to what other people are talking about. Go with what Noble Drew Ali says, and I'm like, I rock with that. And he had been doing it for a long time. If you look, You know, been doing it for about 12 years, about 3,000 videos, you know. But what is concerning and what is unfortunate, as you heard in the clip, he couldn't answer the question. What's worse than that is if you look in his catalog of videos, he doesn't have any videos talking in depth, teaching the people, asking the people about the Supreme Grand Council. And that is unfortunate, but I want to highlight this. And in particular, because I used to work with him, you know, co-wrote a book. But what we must do is we must be honest with ourselves. And I want to read something for you right now so that you understand where I'm coming from. It's a warning from the prophet. This is coming from the Moorish literature. For all governors and grand sheikhs and head officials of all temples, renew your acts, amend your ways, because the great conference is on its way, and in it is where law will be enforced before the great grand body. The continuance of the present officers in the temple will depend on your past good work. Those who have been delinquent may now know that they will not be tolerated any longer, because this great divine and national movement must move on according to law. These things shall be proclaimed. This is key right here. There is no favorite in any of the temples, for the law is laid down, and everyone who claims a part of the work must be governed accordingly. It's got to be fair across the board. It ain't no favorites. Just because I was working with Cujo and I got love for Cujo doesn't mean I can ignore the fact that he is not addressing this Supreme Grand Council issue. Same with the brother Taj Tariq Bey. Love the brother. Amazing information. But we must address this issue. And that goes to any and everyone in the movement. And that's what I keep saying over and over again, because it's not just a Rami thing. The people that haven't been doing the work, they want to deflect. They want to manipulate the conversation and steer you away from the topic at hand, the Supreme Grand Council. That's what the issue is. And we all have to work together to make sure that it's right, because this is what Noble Drew Ali said, not what I said. Not what I said. Please make that clear. I want to make that very clear. There's no favorite in any of the temples, for the law is laid down, and everyone who claims a part of the work, must be governed accordingly. All are one. There's but one temple in this nation, and there's but one prophet of the temples. I come to speak to all nations, bringing them a message of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And you see, what's unfortunate is that far too often we let our pride and our ego come before us, and we're not able to just admit, you know what, I made a mistake. I thought I knew. I was really, aggressive. I really just wanted to make something happen. Whatever it is. You know what? I never even read that part. Whatever the mistake is, we have a problem just admitting that. But we got to stop that. And this is the facts, man. We haven't been doing our work according to what the prophet laid down. And I bring this back, and the reason why I keep saying the prophet is because I want to show you this next clip, and I want you to keep in mind what I just read and what you heard about the Supreme Grand Council. And understand that the Supreme Grand Council came from Noble Drew Ali. Understand that. Noble Drew Ali set that up. Let's go to the next one.
There's activity and passivity. Right? You already know us. You already know we're not no passive Moors. You already know that. You don't have to prove anything. Right? We did better than starting some Supreme Grand Council. We unified Moors all over the world. Moors who didn't even know they lived down the street from each other got connected because of Canaan land Moors. There's activity and passivity. Right? You already know us. You already know we're not no passive Moors. You already know that. You don't have to prove anything. Right? We did better than starting some Supreme Grand Council. We unified Moors all over the world. Moors who didn't even know they lived down the street from each other got connected because of Canaan land Moors.
When I heard that, man, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. It really, that really hurt me. But I want to express something to you. Matter of fact, before I even do that, let me read this. This is the instruction from your prophet Noble Drali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is on. But the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drali. That's why many hearts have been turned to stone, and many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear, lest they will be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones who do believe. If you have a true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Drali. Your brother Kudro RYL from Canaan Land Moors said that what he has done and what they have done is better than some Supreme Grand Council. He's trying to put himself before the prophet. His works is better than Noble Drali. And I just, I want to stress this important beyond the Supreme Grand Council is very important, but this is even more important than that. Please do not get arrogant. Anybody watching this, and everyone, do not be arrogant enough to think that what you are doing right now is, oh, I'm way better than the prophet. Don't do that. Don't do that. The focus. We can't lose focus. The issue at hand is the Supreme Grand Council. So if you're watching this, I challenge you to study what Noble Drali said about the Supreme Grand Council and ask your Grand Sheiks, ask the people in your temple, ask your brothers and sisters, hey, when are we going to get this Supreme Grand Council active? Because this is what the Noble Drali laid down for us so that we can get this thing going properly. Challenge Cool Joe. And see, here's the thing. Let me say this last thing. This is not to ridicule Cool Joe. This is not to ridicule anybody that hasn't been doing the works. I'm saying this is time for us to step up and do what we're supposed to do. It's okay to say, you know what, I apologize. I made a mistake. It's time for us to get right. It's not about me. It's not about an ego thing. I made mistakes too. I thought I was doing the right thing until I found about the Supreme Grand Council. Then I said, I gotta slow up. I need to figure this out and do this the right way. Nope, we ain't perfect. Nobody perfect. Please, 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 humble yourselves. Stop playing games with this movement. Oh, that's what I want to read on the way out. But let's do what we're supposed to do. Let's follow Noble Drew Ali, who is our prophet, the leader of this movement, the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, a universal prophet. And he came specifically for us. Why are we playing? I'm gonna read this last little piece, man. This is coming from chapter 35, Religion, from the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. It was divinely prepared for us by Noble Drew Ali, our prophet. And in the laws he hath ordained as the rule of life, so kindly had he united thy duty to thy nature, that obedience to his precepts is happiness to thyself. O praise his goodness with sons of thanksgiving, and meditate in silence on the wonders of his love. Let thy heart overflow with gratitude and acknowledgement. Let the language of thy lips speak praise and adoration. Let the actions of thy life show thy love to his law. Allah is just and righteous, and will judge the earth with equity and truth. Hath he established his laws in goodness and mercy, and shall he not punish the transgressors thereof? O think not, bold men, because thy punishment is delayed, that the arm of Allah is weakened. Neither flatter thyself with hopes that he winketh at thy doings. His eye perceiveth the secrets of every heart, and he remembereth them forever. He respect not the persons or the stations of men, the high and the low, the rich and the poor, the wise and the ignorant. When the soul hath shaken off the cumbrous shackles of this mortal life, shall equally receive from the sentence of just and everlasting retribution, according to their works. Then shall the wicked tremble and be afraid, but the heart of the righteous shall rejoice in his judgment. Thank you for watching. Please study the Supreme Grand Council. Understand what this is, what this particular function of the Moorish Science Temple of America is, why it is so important, and know it. You know, don't just listen to this video and believe what I'm saying. Look it up for yourself so that you know. And then once you know, start to speak on it. Start to share the information with your brothers and sisters. Start to call on the sheiks and the people that are making these videos that are calling themselves Moorish Americans and saying they have remedies and saying they have. Ask them about the Supreme Grand Council and demand with love, not hostile, not in aggressive, you know, not that way, but demand that we get to this issue. We cannot keep ignoring it like it don't exist. Because if the Noble Drew Ali is right and not right, the temple ain't right. And Noble Drew Ali is right. So something we ain't doing is right. It's something going on that we ain't doing. That's why things ain't working. We got to listen to what Noble Drew Ali is saying. It's just that simple. Thank you. And if you have any questions, that's the last thing. If you have any questions, want to talk more, hit me in the comments. Say your nationality, your name, where you're coming from, or email me, iamhhtemple@gmail.com. More importantly, start speaking, start studying, start learning about the Supreme Grand Council, and follow Noble Drew Ali. Peace.